Hey everyone, welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobby Capucci. It's October 14th, and this is the Daily Drop. We're going to jump right into it today. We have an article from Mint Press News. The author is Whitney Webb, and it is quite the doozy. She goes into a lot of things that we've talked about before on the podcast here. She goes into about Epstein being an intelligence asset. She talks about Maxwell. She talks about Prince Andrew. And she talks about the media being devious. The media scrubbing old articles that had to do with Epstein and his ties to Andrew and other things that we're going to talk about in this article. So without wasting your time or mine, let's hop right into it and see what's what. While the Jeffrey Epstein scandal has largely faded from media coverage in the United States, it has continued to attract attention abroad. In the United Kingdom, in connection with Epstein's long-standing association with Prince Andrew, the Duke of York, and the Queen's son. The Epstein-Prince Andrew relationship has long been a fascination of the UK press, with the numerous articles dating back to the early 2000s detailing the most outrageous aspects of the relationship. Prior to that, Epstein had also garnered attention from UK newspapers regarding his association with Ghislaine Maxwell, whose reputation in the UK is rather notorious, as was that of her father, Robert Maxwell. Yet since Epstein's arrest in July, many of these older articles on Epstein and Maxwell, as well as those focusing on the Epstein-Prince Andrew relationship, have disappeared from the archives of several prominent UK media outlets that reported on these relationships years ago. Several of these articles, though largely scrubbed from the internet, were recently obtained by Mint Press Media, and a review of their contents makes the likely motive behind their disappearance clear. Several articles not only reference Epstein's connection to both U.S. and Israeli intelligence years before the first investigation into Epstein's exploitation of minors had even begun, but also reveal surprising aspects of Prince Andrew's involvement with Epstein that strongly suggest that the prince partook in illicit sexual activities with minors to a much greater extent than has previously been reported. Yes, we have touched on all of this. There are so many articles out there that are meant to confuse and deceive you that it's almost obvious to anyone just paying attention a little bit what's going on here. New disturbing details of Prince Andrew's early links to Epstein. Since Epstein was arrested the first time in 2006, and even more so after he was arrested again, this past July, those named in press reports as his associates have made every effort to distance themselves from the accused pedophile and sex trafficker. For this reason, press reports that discuss Epstein long before there was any hint of the larger scandal are important for understanding the true nature of Epstein's past associations with the rich and powerful. In light of what we now know about Epstein's sexual blackmail operation and sex trafficking activities, several reports from the late 90s and early 2000s contain details long since forgotten regarding Epstein's relationship with Prince Andrew. Okay, sexual blackmail operation, check. Sex trafficking activities, check. Relationship with Andrew strong as hell, check. These are all things we've been discussing for weeks on this podcast. And Whitney Webb over here is doing a deep dive, and she's done some great work. You guys should definitely check out her other stuff. One censored article that appeared in London's Evening Standard in January 2001, for instance, gives several indications regarding the apparent entrapment of Prince Andrew as part of Epstein's sexual blackmail operation, which is now known to have been connected to intelligence, specifically Israeli military intelligence, according to recent revelations in the case. What she's talking about there was an ex-Israeli military agent who came out on record, Ben Minash, I believe his name was, saying that Epstein as well as the Maxwells were all agents of Israeli intelligence and the CIA. So take that for what it's worth. You know, I vetted that source as well as I could. I did a daily drop on it. I dove into it a little bit. But when it comes to these kind of people, it's very hard to have information on them. They have their information hidden. You know, they're very they're shrewd people. They're very shrewd and they're very slippery. All right, back to the article. The article, written by Evening Standard journalist Nigel Rosser, quotes a personal friend of both Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein as saying the following about their friendship with the prince. A friend of the couple said, "She is able to entrance anyone, and she chooses Epstein, and she chooses she excuse me. She is able to entrance anyone she chooses, and Epstein can pay for anything anyone wants. She manipulates him and winds people around her little finger. The whole Andrew thing is probably being done for Epstein." Another friend of Maxwell and Epstein's made similar claims and that appear in the same article. Ghislaine manipulates him, and he's too naive to realize it. She's the social fixer, and he's going along with it. Why? Because I think Epstein's fantastically impressed with it all. It's all very premeditated. The article further describes Epstein and Prince Andrew as having a curious symbiotic relationship, adding that wherever Ghislaine is seen with Prince Andrew, Epstein isn't far behind. These quotes are telling now that it is a matter of record that Epstein was seeking out rich and powerful individuals and entrapping them with minors for the purpose of blackmail. The fact that personal friends of Epstein and Maxwell at the time openly stated the manipulation of that Maxwell manipulated Epstein and their relationship with Prince Andrew was very premeditated and probably being done for Epstein strongly suggests that not only was the prince entrapped, but that this type of entrapment activity was known to occur among those who were close to Epstein and Maxwell at the time. Prince Andrew, as a member of the royal family which is very protective of its social reputation, as well as the UK envoy for investment and trade, certainly fits into the category of people that Epstein entrapped on behalf of intelligence. Rich, politically powerful, and wary of damaging their social reputation, and thus very susceptible to blackmail. Notably, the year this article was published, 2001, is the same year that Epstein's most well-known accuser and victim, Virginia Giuffre, then Virginia Roberts, claims that she was introduced to Prince Andrew by Maxwell and Epstein and forced to have sex with the prince on at least 3 occasions. She has also claimed that Epstein would subsequently instruct her to describe the encounters in order to learn compromising information about the prince's sexual habits and preferences. Her claims regarding Epstein's trafficking of her specifically to Prince Andrew have been largely corroborated by photographic evidence, flight logs, and public records. While it appears that Prince Andrew was entrapped as part of Epstein's intelligence-linked sexual blackmail operation, the article further suggests that Andrew's involvement with the minors exploited by Epstein went far beyond his alleged 3 encounters with Giuffre. Rosser quotes a friend of Prince Andrew's ex-wife Sarah Ferguson as saying that Andrew used to be smart when he came back from abroad. He started having a girl massage him. He even travels abroad with his own massage mattress. During the same time period, Epstein and Maxwell also introduced Prince Andrew to sex aid entrepreneur Christine Drangsholt during a trip to Mar-a-Lago, and describes Andrew traveling to Los Angeles where he was seen flirting with a group of girls, and to Phuket, Thailand, where he wandered around the sex bars in the area's red light district. The Los Angeles trip saw Andrew accompanied by artist and close friend Michael Jackson. Bruce Livingstone Strong and Ghislaine Maxwell accompanied Andrew to Thailand. The mention of massages from girls and Andrew traveling around with Maxwell and Epstein while bringing along his own massage mattresses are striking given what is known about Epstein's sex trafficking and sexual blackmail operations. Court documents, police report, and other evidence have since made it clear that massage was the code word Epstein and his co-conspirators used for sex with minors he exploited, and massage tables and sex toys were frequently present together in the rooms of his various residences where he forced underage girls to engage in sexual acts with him and others. Most notable of all the fact that claims of Prince Andrew receiving massages from girls during his trips with Epstein and Maxwell were published in January 2001, at least 2 months before Virginia Giuffre states that she was first introduced and forced to have sex with the prince in March of 2001. This means that the claims of Epstein and Maxwell brokered massages refer to at least one other girl, strongly suggesting that Andrew's involvement with minors exploited by Epstein is greater than has recently been acknowledged. Other recently reported information has added to the likelihood that Prince Andrew engaged in illicit activities with more minors than Virginia Giuffre. For instance, the FBI recently expanded its probe into Epstein's sex trafficking network to include a specific focus on the prince's role. The FBI has claimed that they are reviewing claims regarding Prince Andrew made by other Epstein victims aside from Giuffre, but did not specify on the nature of those claims. Ghislaine Maxwell's open secret. Media reports cite Prince Andrew and Ghislaine Maxwell as having developed a close relationship at least by February 2000, when Andrew had spent a week at Epstein's controversial New York penthouse at 9th East 71st Street. One report published in 2000 by London Sunday Times claimed that the two were introduced by Andrew's ex-wife Sarah Ferguson, often referred to as Fergie, and further claims that this introduction had taken place several years prior. Epstein is alleged to have first been introduced to Andrew via Maxwell in 1999. Years after this introduction was made, Jeffrey Epstein would provide financial assistance to Ferguson at Prince Andrew's behest by paying Ferguson's former personal assistant £15,000, allegedly in order to allow for a wider restructuring of Sarah's $5 million in debts to take place. Oddly, by April of that year, Maxwell and Prince Andrew were spotted by their fellow diners at a posh New York restaurant holding hands, prompting both the Prince and Maxwell to claim their relationship was merely platonic. However, a separate report from 2007 in the Evening Standard refers to Maxwell as one of Prince Andrew's former girlfriends. Well, that's something that's kind of new. There's not much that talks about that, and that's the first we've talked about that on this podcast for sure. So that's some good information right there. That's definitely something that we'll have to look a little bit more into. Within a year of their close relationship having become public, Andrew and Ghislaine were reported to have gone on 8 different vacations together, of which Epstein accompanied them for 5. Andrew also brought Maxwell and Epstein to celebrate the Queen's birthday in 2000 as his personal guests. Well, doesn't sound like a friend that he wasn't too familiar with, huh? Doesn't sound like somebody he wasn't hanging out with on a regular basis, huh? Kinda sounds like somebody he had a pretty intimate relationship with. Several reports from this period also provide interesting insight into Maxwell's business activities and private life. One article from 2000 published in London Sunday Times states that for all of her high-profile appearances on Manhattan's A-list merry-go-round, she is secretive to the point of paranoia, and her business affairs are deeply mysterious. It goes on to say that Maxwell has been building a business empire as opaque as her father's, referencing Robert Maxwell's business empire, which included multiple front companies for Israeli intelligence, and adds that her office in Manhattan refuses to confirm even the nature of the name of her business. So, why would a socialite be so secretive? Why is she so worried about her business's name being out there? These are questions that need to be answered, and I'm glad that they're being asked. On her relationship with Epstein, it states that he's always kept her secrets. No one knows what their relationship is really about. An article from 2001 claims that Maxwell's Manhattan lifestyle, her New York residence, and her vehicles were all purchased by Epstein, and she was employed as his consultant, while also acting as his social organizer and interior designer. One report on Maxwell, which was published by the Evening Standard in 2003, years before Epstein was first publicly revealed to be exploiting minors, contains very telling information about Maxwell's work for Epstein. It states, Ghislaine has risen largely thanks to property developer Epstein bankrolling her to become queen of the billionaires social circuit, adding that Jeffrey only likes billionaires or very young women and uses Ghislaine as his social pimp. It then discusses rumors that Maxwell was hosting bizarre parties at her house, to which she invites a dozen or so young girls and brandishes a whip and teaches them how to improve their sexual technique. Alright, so I've discussed this at length, how Maxwell was his in to these social circles, how she was his way to get a seat at the table so that he could make the moves that he made and get around the people that he got around so that he could put this operation into effect. Very, very, very shrewd operation on their part. Given what is now known by Maxwell's role as Epstein's procurer of underage girls and her role in training them in sexual techniques, this passage, again from 2003, reveals that Epstein and Maxwell's dark acts were pretty much an open secret for years prior to Epstein's first arrest in 2007. Jeffrey Epstein, spy and property mogul. One recurring theme in many of these older reports from the UK is their mention of Epstein's alleged ties to both US and Israeli intelligence. For instance, Nigel Rosser's 2001 article contains the following passage. More at home in a world of international finance and the English countryside, the immensely wealthy financier and property developer maintains a mysterious presence in New York. He has a license to carry a concealed weapon, once claimed to have worked for the CIA, although he now denies it, and owns properties all over America. Once he arrived in London, home of British arms dealers, bringing a gift, a New York police-issued pump-action riot gun. God knows how he got the gun into the country, a friend said. Another article published in '92 in the UK's Mail on Sunday describes rumors that linked Epstein to the CIA and the Mossad and claimed that he had worked as a corporate spy hired by big business to uncover money that had been embezzled. In addition, an article published in 2000 in London's Sunday Times also states of Epstein that nobody knows whether he's a concert pianist, property developer, CIA agent, a math teacher, or a member of the Mossad. Notably, these rumors of Epstein's links to CIA to intelligence have since been confirmed. The CIA-Mossad links to Epstein were detailed in a recent Mint Priest investigative series, and several mainstream media reports have also stated Epstein's time as a self-described financial bounty hunter who hunted down embezzled funds and also hid stolen money for powerful people and governments. Another odd commonality among these now scrubbed articles on Epstein from the 90s and early 2000s is that the majority of them refer to Epstein not as a financier or hedge fund manager, as has become common in recent reports, but as a New York property developer and even as a property mogul. For instance, the 2001 Evening Standard article introduces Epstein as an immensely powerful New York property developer and financier, with an intensively secret business life who owns properties all over the country. It also states that Epstein had made millions from his business links with the likes of Bill Gates, Donald Trump, and Ohio billionaire Leslie Wexner during the 90s and beyond. Wexner, in addition to his other close financial ties to Epstein, was involved in several Manhattan real estate deals with Epstein's and Epstein's brother Mark, while Donald Trump was then best known for his career as a New York property developer and real estate mogul. Trump is also cited in a separate article from January 2001 as being good friends with both Prince Andrew and his ex-wife, Fergie. In addition, this article's claim regarding Epstein's most notable business links in 2001 contradicts Bill Gates' recent assertions that he never had any business relationship with Epstein and did not meet with him until 2013. Like I said, it was all going to come out that Bill Gates was a liar as well, and it's starting to come out now. He's no better than the rest of these enablers. Notably, Gates' former chief scientific advisor was recently named as an alternate executor for Epstein's will, and Gates appears on the flight logs of Epstein's now infamous private plane. Gates, one of the world's richest men, has since claimed that he had only met with Epstein in order to meet with other wealthy people to discuss charitable works. So, wait a minute. You're the second richest man in the world, and you, Jeffrey Epstein, to get you the in to meet with other rich people? One phone call, Bill. One email, one text, and you'll have the ear of whoever you want. Who are you kidding? Another article in the Evening Standard refers to Epstein as a property mogul, and several other articles, such as a 2000 article from Australia's Sunday Mail, a 95 article from Australia's Sun Herald, and a 95 article from the UK's Mail on Sunday, also refer to Epstein as chiefly a property developer. Boy, this guy sure does wear a lot of hats, huh? Pretty good for a guy that doesn't have a college degree. Interestingly, references to Epstein as a property developer continued to occur, though less frequently, after his first arrest in 2007, and then again after his recent arrest this past July, yet oddly only in non-U.S. newspapers. Another article states that Ghislaine Maxwell had sold property on Epstein's behalf and was also involved in the New York real estate market. While several articles in the early 2000s describe Epstein as both property developer and financier, even earlier articles about Epstein refer to him exclusively as a property developer. For instance, the 1992 article in the Mail on Sunday cited above referred to Epstein as a shadowy, almost maverick New York property developer, and noted that even then Epstein appeared to have an inexhaustible supply of money, and yet no one seems to be able to answer the question of precisely what the source. Well, pretty sure we can answer that now, huh? The intelligence agencies sure do have an infinite amount of money from all of their obscene black op operations. Pretty sure that they'd have enough money to give Mr. Epstein whatever he needed to bankroll whatever sort of deviousness he had going on. As will be revealed in an upcoming Mint Press investigative series, these references allude to Epstein's shady business activities in the New York and Palm Beach real estate markets from the mid-1980s to the late 1990s that were used to launder massive amounts of money for organized crime and intelligence. It is likely for this reason that Epstein's real estate activities during this period have been so deliberately ignored by the U.S. press, even though other aspects of his financial activities were heavily scrutinized in recent months. Indeed, in examining Epstein's involvement in real estate markets, in New York, it becomes clear that those activities have no shortage of controversial tie-ins to the current U.S. presidential administration, as well as major New York power players involved in suspect financial activity immediately prior to the September 11th attacks, as well as the 2008 financial crisis. All of those connections and more will be explored in Mint Press's upcoming investigative series on the financial crimes of Jeffrey Epstein and their broader implications. Well, that's a whole lot to unpack there, huh? So, this is a great article. There's a lot of great information here, and I think that Whitney Webb is doing a great job, and she's unraveling every single knot that comes her way, and she's reporting on this story from where her information is taking her, and I applaud her for that. And I'm going to be following the rest of this investigative series that she's doing. I think you guys should do the same thing. I will link this article in the description, and that way you guys can go and read the article yourself, and you can check on some of these headlines that have been scrubbed as well. You can see which ones that she's talking about here. And all I could say is that the rabbit hole is getting deeper and deeper each night that we do one of these daily drops, that we come together here and we talk about this story. It gets deeper and deeper and darker, and there seems to be a different Warren at each turn. So all I could say is I hope you guys have a great night. Had a great night. Thanks for joining us, and I hope you guys pop back in tomorrow for another daily drop.